All right, we'll call our meeting to order. If you'll all join me in the pledge. Quick flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
That's pretty funny.
Yeah. I was looking at that one. All right. Well, that was fun.
Yes.
Okay, we are into public audience. Anybody wanting to address the board? Okay. We're going to move on to committee reports and communications. Emily.
Yes. Hello, everyone.
Hi.
So I just had a couple of things to mention about what's going on at the high school. Fall sports are in full swing. I've noticed that the Trojan Wall this year has done a much more involved job than last year about promoting the sports. This year we've had like Athlete of the Week. These past 2 weeks they started doing it. I'm pretty sure they didn't do that last year, although I might have just missed it. But so that's been really interesting. The One Acts play is starting up, so theater is already going pretty strong. They're starting their performances in mid-October. And then also, I know Miss Abel is a state finalist for Teacher of the Year, so there's going to be some very important state representatives coming to the music department on Friday. So we've been sprucing up the bulletin board and all the stuff
That's it,
to
make us look good.
Yes, got to make us look good. Lots of new pictures, new decor, the whole thing. And then 9th through 11th PSAT Day is coming up too, so everyone's kind of preparing for that. And then we have 11th and 12th grade open house tomorrow. And some of the Trojan Ambassadors and people from National Honor Society are going to be helping out with getting the parents where they're supposed to be and all that fun stuff.
Can you tell us what the Trojan Ambassadors?
Yeah,
That's a new term for me.
Yes, sorry. Trojan Ambassadors is a club that is run by Ms. Girardi, one of the guidance counselors, and it basically just helps out with the 9th grade orientation programs, the new student orientation programs, and like the open houses. And then every time there's a new student that comes in to the district or like in high school, they email us all on an email chain and say like, hey, this kid has this lunch and these classes. Let me know if you have the same classes. And then they'll be like matched up with someone to like kind of take them on a tour of the school and all that stuff if they come in like mid-year.
Oh, that's great.
Really
Yeah.
good.
That's terrific. Thank you.
Thank you.
That's it.
Is that it? I didn't know if I redirected you in the middle of something. Sorry. Okay, Sharon.
I don't have anything right now other than glad to be back.
Yeah, glad to see you.
Nothing?
Jen? Nothing. Your people are easy. Sue? Nothing right now. Neil?
Me too, nothing today.
My goodness, Amy. Katie, you want to share?
It's the
We are
start of
good.
the
Just ready to tee up the report when it's time to get there, but
We're all good. All right.
all good.
We are on to recommended actions. This is the easiest meeting you people have ever given me. Approval of the minutes of September 13th, please.
So moved.
I'll second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any abstentions? All right, all set. Personnel.
Yeah, just one item tonight, and it's my fault that actually should have been taken care of at the last meeting, but I lost track of this one in the summer and was reminded that Frank Zuliani from Tooten Hill School, who has been with us for 35 years, gave us a letter this summer announcing his intent to retire with the 3-year time frame. So it'll be a full 38 before Frank is done. I looked it up, he is the longest tenured elementary school teacher right now.
He doesn't want to stay for 40, Randall.
Yeah, no, he's good. So, and just a staple of Tooten Hill School, and a really important figure. And I talk to our elementary principals all the time, the importance of finding male elementary teachers in our schools. It's an important experience for kids to get that, and Frank has been a wonderful role model for young men and women in the district for a long time. So congratulations, but not yet, Frank, because you got 3 more years, and the motion is there for someone to make.
I'll take someone.
Sure, I'll move that the Board of Education accept the notice of intent to retire of Frank Zuliani effective June 30th, 2025.
Second.
Any discussion?
Thank you very much and look forward to your next 3 years.
Yeah.
Yes, we do.
Wonder where you
Great
at.
things. Yeah.
Terrific, thank you. All right, oh, a vote would be helpful. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. Acceptance of gifts, Terriffill PTO.
Yes, so there are 2 gifts for your consideration this evening, both donations from the Terriffill School PTO. The first is a gift of $2,000, and this gift will help defray costs of the Camp Jewel experience for grade 6 students. So we are moving to grade 6 now. Many of the elementary schools will be having their experiences in the fall. Terriffill being one of them because it's about bonding and pulling kids together and enjoying that 6th grade year and the experiences that come from that. So the PTO is giving $2,000 to defray scholarship costs. And the second gift is also from Terriffill PTO for a replacement slide for their playscape. And that is valued at $4,058. So there are 2 separate motions there as far as those 2 gifts are concerned for your consideration this evening.
Thank you.
I move that the proposed gift of $2,000 to Terriffill School by the Terriffill School PTO be approved.
And a second, please.
I move that.
What,
No,
no,
second.
the second on the
Second.
first motion.
Second on the
Second.
first.
Perfect. Okay,
You second the first motion.
you're seconding the
Yes.
2,000. Okay.
Yes.
Any discussion?
No.
No. Thank you very much for helping our kids get to Camp
Vote.
Jewel. All
Vote.
those in favor?
Aye.
All right. And then next motion.
Move that the proposed gift of $4,058 to Terriffill School by the Terriffill School Parent Teacher Organization be approved.
Second.
Any discussion?
I'm excited for my son.
We want a
Great.
slide report.
New slide.
Right, new slide. Can't beat
Good
that.
stuff. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you all very much. We appreciate your generosity, as always. Academic reports, there we go.
All right, I want to welcome Mr. Petrina, principal, and his team here tonight. And I see some of our administrative interns as well, right? So members of the staff
Yes.
that are in a program, so that's great. They probably have some hours they have to knock out, I would imagine.
You mean we're not
Including, and I
fascinating
get to embarrass Amanda a little bit, but I was Amanda's student teacher when she was in 4th grade. So that shows
Oh
how
my.
old the superintendent's
Oh my.
getting,
Dating yourself.
right?
Yes.
But I was a career switch. I got into it a little late.
I knew you were gonna have to say that.
But it's nice to see everybody here. I welcome Steve to the podium. We get an opportunity tonight, and we do this annually to hear the Simsbury High School report. I'm particularly excited this evening as I've kind of looked through, and worked with the team from this summer through now, and I think they've done a really good job of acknowledging not only the challenges and struggles of COVID in the last couple years and how that's played out in the school a little bit, but tying in the strategic plan and the priority of the districts and how they tie those things together and really look at both some celebrations but some improvement initiatives that we're going to focus on over the course of this year. And I think we're going to hear from Steve, Georgia, and Vanessa tonight, as well as Greg. So it's great to hear the different voices, and we'll have an opportunity to ask any questions that you have. But looking
Okay.
forward to the presentation. So Steve, I kick it to you.
Awesome. Thank you,
Right.
everybody.
I'm gonna just shift.
Yep.
Give me a
And
second.
move back
So I
a little
can-
bit so you can see it.
so I can
You can see okay?
Go around the other side.
Let me get out of the way.
Come sit down, come
Yeah.
here. Move over.
So thank you, everybody, and thank you for having us, and we're thrilled to be here. Again, I have with me Vanessa and Georgia, who are 2 of my assistant principals, and Greg Stillman, our director of guidance, and you'll hear from all of us throughout this time period. I'm going to start and just say what a journey it's been through COVID. To run a high school is really been a fascinating journey in regards to not only the academic pressure, but the social emotional piece has really had a profound impact on how we deliver instruction and what we do. It has opened up some wonderful doors. We all now have area networks which are fully functioning, which we never had before. So that has certainly been a positive, but it has been quite a journey. And I take you back a few years ago when COVID started, and if we think about the premise that COVID put into this school and all the schools, was this idea of separation, giving kids breaks, giving kids space, and really keeping a close eye on the social emotional piece, almost to the exception of the academic piece. And that was a matter of survival for 2 years, literal survival and school survival. But out of that came some tricky items that lasted into last year. And we'll talk a little bit about that and the pressures that COVID had and how we have to sort of roll back the clock in terms of school. But what I'm most proud of, or truly proud of, and this slide is certainly indicative of it, is that our kids persevered, our teachers persevered, and our families persevered. And what we found in our data and what we found in our successes was that we did really well in COVID, all things considered. As much of a toll as it took, as hard as it was, as difficult as it was, in all these different areas, we were able to make it through. So I broke it down real quick, some of the accomplishments from last year that you can see here. And again, just a small glimpse of it. I always run through a pile of them during my graduation speech, but this is even more, and we got some hot off the press ones up here that you're unaware of. So real quick, when we look at these items, no doubt our school-wide success certainly is evident. You're going to hear a lot more about it from Greg later on, but our NGSS scores, our SAT scores, were really at some of the highest peaks that they have been, especially compared to our DERG and our state. Our commended scholars, AP scholars, are at rates that we have been able to maintain and get through this time period, so all impressive time period. Last year, our athletics and clubs and activities truly excelled. You can see the number of All-Americans and all-state players, and not to bar anybody up, he's not even here tonight, but we actually set a state record in our track and field, so all very impressive, but it was far from the only one. Our clubs and activities have expanded to a tremendous degree, but nothing more than our fencing program has taken off with their success around the state. And our chess club came home with this state championship, so really just incredible. And then at the department level, we saw tremendous success, and we're recognized throughout the state. Fox 61 nominated us in terms of first place for our Pennathon work. You can see FBLA coming in first place, National Honor Society, 88 members, Performing Arts, and 10 Honor Societies. So 2 have been added in my time period. So to get to 10 Honor Society now, that's a credit to our teachers who have set them up, their efforts, and the kids' willingness to meet those standards that are set for that. So just a great recognition. At the very bottom is our brand new one today. We just got this in. That the Connecticut Magazine recognized Simsbury as 1 out of 20 game changer schools for their work in history. And in particular, the MLK project was mentioned predominantly. Thank you, Tara, for helping through that one. All right, so a lot of great successes academically, a lot of great successes in activities and sports. But I'm going to tell you, there was a price at the other end of this equation that we were fighting through. Getting through COVID was there was a lot of students with a lot of anxiety, a lot of angst, and a lot of difficulty. So last year, I'm not going to stand up here and say it was perfect by any stretch of the imagination, because on that side of the equation, it was really, really hard work to get through, to maintain for some kids, and it was a real tough fight. So we're going to talk a little bit more about that as we move on, and look at our goals down the line here, and some of them will be, some of my assistants will be talking about that. So we set about this summer to meet early on and say, what are we going to do? We set a lot of social emotional type things and school culture goals, which you'll hear about. But one of the things that we really talked about was making this place look and feel different for everybody, to give everybody sort of a fresh start, including ourselves. In terms of getting back to that. So our first thing that we talked about early on was my assistant principals, and much to some of their chagrin, and no one likes to move, but we decided we wanted to get our assistant principals back into the mix of the school more. So we did a little shift, and Georgia moved upstairs into Jeff Penny's office. We created a new office down around the bend by the library for Vanessa. And out of their old office, we created a new student center, because one of the items that we felt was missing and lacking, and we've tried to do this, I've been here a long time, I think this is our third reiteration, but I think we finally got it right. And I hope when you leave, you can walk out there and take a look at it. It's centrally located, and we wanted to give kids a place to go to. We gave it a connection with athletics. We also moved our SRO so he could improve relationships and get our SRO to the front of the school where he should be. And the result of that was just a beautifully designed work and effort. And I think the Student Center will only take off and grow now as our clubs and activities meet. That's the centerpiece of it. That's the centerpiece for sports. We're just getting the technology up in the room so coaches can have meetings in there after school. We just think it's going to be a vibrant part of life here at Simsbury, and with its central location, easily accessible, easily gettable, visible, and a great part of our school. We also took a step back and said, we got a group coming in that has been through rough run, if you think about it. I know every grade misses things, but this was a grade impacted 6th, 7th, and 8th grade by COVID, and coming into this environment where all of a sudden the game counts. The scores count, the social emotional piece gets elevated, and so one of the great items that we came up with, and I thank some of the people that are here today for organizing it and putting it together, was to come up with a freshman first day program. So literally the day before school, we didn't know how many kids would take us up on this thing, but 90% of the freshman class showed up. To meet their teachers, to have pizza, to get them comfortable. We did all the other things that we normally do, but this added piece just, I think, gave a relaxing attitude to the building. They got comfortable, and so when day one came, they were the veterans in the school a little bit and knew where they were going and knew their teachers already. And we think it made a world of a difference. So again, thank the teachers. It was all teacher run, teacher led, teacher driven. So for them to make their sacrifices, and remember, that's before school, so they're giving up their time to set up their rooms, they were giving up their time for some of their PD and other works for the betterment of the kids, and I can't thank them enough for that, and it was wildly successful.
Is that the ambassador program that Elaine was speaking of?
Yeah, we had a couple
was
of
part of
people
it,
in
yep.
like study halls to, like, I was stationed in different study halls to like answer questions of the freshmen and stuff like that.
Great.
Yeah, it was awesome. And finally, our new and improved communication platforms. If you're on it and you're with it, you can find our messages, you can do things, and you know where to kind of go. But I'm going to give Maggie Seidel all sorts of credit here, who recognized our problem. So we've always talked about it. My listserv is, you have to sign up to get my listserv on Fridays, for instance. Well, we're at a 55%, 60% clip. That means 40% of the people aren't getting that information right off the bat. So Maggie took this problem, flipped it, created the app, and got all our communications, and then neatly organized things. So hopefully you've seen the sign walk in. Please make sure you have the app downloaded. We're going to test the junior and senior parents tomorrow night because that's where their schedules are going to be found, and see if they can pull that off. And that's why we have our ambassadors here to help them through.
Tech support is available.
Tech support is
Yes,
available.
true.
So, but this is a game changer to some degree, to take away some of that mystery of where do I go, how do I get it, I'm not getting this, I'm not getting that. You're also going to hear a little bit later, I'm going to have Georgia talk a little bit about the teacher goals and what they're doing around communication. It's different. Coaches have been given a platform as well to help communicate and foster communication. So again, our hope here is part of that, and you'll see where that fits in this. So we're going to get to some of the data. There's two pieces of data that we're going to significantly give you. I'm going to walk you through the Panorama Survey results, and Greg will take you through some of the statistical data on SATs and PSATs and AP results. The Panorama Survey, I think Matt and Sue can attest, I was like, oh my God, are we really going to do this survey after 2 years of COVID on the virtual last day of school when it's been a tough run. But you know, in hindsight, it was the right thing to do. It's data that we kind of recognized was going to come out in certain ways, but what I always find, I don't get too hung up on the number. The numbers are not radically different than where they were in 2017, but what was inspiring to me and challenging to us is the quotes, the amount of feedback that we got in writing from not only teachers, students, but parents as to what were those things getting in the way, what was holding them up. So you can see that the data is where it's at. These are you know, not exactly where we want them to be, obviously, but again, it's 4 years since the last time we did it. Again, not a lot different from 4 years ago, but certainly not where we want to see things in regards to percentages of people responding favorably. And to move that needle, what are we going to do? So this is what our answer came out to be. So when you go through the comments and when you go through the data, you see that it breaks down into three real areas that are concerning that were brought up. The first was school climate. The second was the communication. You've already heard me talk a little bit about the communication piece. And the third is engagement. So again, we're going to talk to each of you. Vanessa will talk a little bit about the climate, but when you read through that data, this was what jumped out at you. I can't tell you how many times the word bathrooms was listed in that report, over and over and over again. And we worked hard at that in terms of our security and hallways and lunch routines and before and after school. So we put a lot of energy into getting that right. I thank the board. We were able to add an extra security person during the day. And then we appealed to the teachers. We appealed to each other at the administrative level. And then we went to a source that we hadn't tapped a lot before, which was actually our department supervisors, to actually play a role in sort of creating what I would call an educationally sound environment. I know a lot of people, and you can ask Emily, it's so tight, it's so, we were coming from a place where everything was open. So where can I eat lunch? Everywhere. Please spread out everywhere. Go anywhere. Stay away from each other and keep space. So when you set that up and I'm in a classroom, I want to break, yes, take a break and go out. So all these things had to sort of come back. So what we really went with was to make sure we had human beings out in the hallway, and we came up with a new pass system that is not complicated, color-coded by floor, passes that each class has, and really didn't change any of the rules requirements other than that you had to have a pass, you had to have a purpose for being out there. You had to have a place you're going to go, and we're just making sure that you got there. So I think the kids are coming around to it. I mean, obviously, if you're a junior and senior and you're used to what the world was, where you, hey, I feel like doing this right now, that isn't the way it's going to be right now. But we were able to really reestablish our climate. In particular, it kept the bathroom traffic down, which is, knock on wood, kept those bathrooms open, that are open, and clean, that are clean. So we're confident of that. Hallways, you can feel it different. You can just feel it when you walk around this school that this is a place of learning. that is going on, and I think the teachers and I think the kids are appreciative that there's not distractions going down the hallways and noises going down the hallway at that time. We've tightened up the lunch routine a little bit in terms of when we get in and getting out. That was aided by a state law change to 30 minutes, so we had to change the routine anyway. And certainly before and after school, we were able to use our new security guards effectively, so having security guards out and about at each of the areas where the traffic comes in the morning, and then in the afternoon, as you saw when you walked in, we have our gentleman who is here till 6:30, which is a major change and a way to keep our school safe and clean in the after hours. Our communication piece, we talked a little bit about, and again, George is going to talk a little bit about teacher goals and our department supervisor goals later. I do want to mention Capstone and VOG. We're so excited about this. This is, if you talk about a change in schools, this is it. And I think I was here last year and said the same thing. At some point, you had to make a fundamental decision that you were really going to take Capstone, VOG, serious. All right, do it right, take it for the way the state was going to do it. I'm going to tell you right here, not all the colleagues that I hang out with did that. Some of them it's a checkbox through it. But we took it seriously, and we believe it's going to transform our school. It is, you know my message is always about passion and pride, and Capstone is all about that and finding that. So thank you so much. The reason why we're able to move this a big ball, is that you were able to give us an extra person to this. So thank you for allowing us to hire Baird Faithful to work with Liz McKay. They are working endlessly to make this a success. So last year we had 60 presentations at the end. They were wonderful. It inspired us. And this year we are looking at 300 of them that will take place on a Capstone night or two at the end of the year. And it is through the Capstone that we are going to capture our VOG we'll show it to you in a bit, but how that is going to be measured and how that's going to be pushed down through the schools and then eventually into the lower schools, we'll talk to you more about that in a bit. I am going to turn you over to Mr. Stillman right now, and he's going to walk you through some of our college and AP and SAT data. Thank you, Greg.
Good evening. Yeah, I want to echo what Mr. Petrina was talking about in terms of just the challenges that we've faced the past couple of years with students struggling with social emotional issues as it regards to the pandemic. Certainly we see that in the counseling office. It's kind of where students come and we see it first and foremost. As we look at the data of how we've performed on SATs and APs and just in the classroom, I think it's a real credit to our teachers who also deal with the social emotional challenges that students are going through, yet continue with the teaching and learning and pushing through and really getting students to a place where they've been over the past, X amount of years here in Simsbury. We've still seen a lot of success on our standardized testing, and that's a credit to our teachers. In terms of the SATs, this is data based on our current senior class. When they were juniors last March, they took the in-school SAT. Everybody in the state of Connecticut took the in-school SAT. This was the first year that it was done digitally. So instead of doing it paper pencil, they did it on their Chromebooks and scored very well. This 578 reading and 566 math is slightly up from the previous year and in line with how we've done in past years. The 578 reading puts us 8th in the state and 2nd in the DIRG, and the math score puts us 14th in the state and 3rd in DIRG B. In terms of advanced placement, it's always our goal to try to challenge students to take the most challenging courses that they are capable of taking. So we challenge them, but we don't push them. 68% of our seniors last year completed at least one AP course before graduation. Usually we're in the low 70s in terms of percentile, so the number's down a little bit. But again, with a lot going on in the students' lives, it's something that we encourage students to do. Teachers get them prepared for it, but we want to make sure they also have balanced course load and balanced lives. So I expect that number to go up a little bit this year. The second number, the 84% of students in grades 10 through 12 who took an AP test scored a 3 or higher. That's an excellent number. The year before was at 72%. 84% is right around where we were pre-COVID. Most years we were in that 80 to 85 range. So again, for our teachers to get students prepared to take a test in May and score a 3 or better is an excellent job by them and excellent job by our students of preparing. In terms of college success rates, we've been measuring over the years of students applying to all different types of schools, but we focus on Tier 1 colleges and really want to see, it's not students necessarily going there, but it's being accepted to Tier 1 colleges. 22% is a solid number. That's where we've been in past years. So we continue to be recognized as a strong school by the colleges and have students being accepted to those top tier colleges. The next bullet, we have last year, 74% of our students attended a 4-year college, 10% pursuing a 2-year degree. That 74% is a number that has been slowly declining over the years. About 6-7 years ago, we were up around 85% of students going off to 4-year colleges. So I dug a little bit and to see what's going on there. And really, the number of students attending 4-year colleges is going down, but the number of students attending post-secondary opportunities is staying the same. So what I mean by that is the number of students pursuing a 2-year degree has been going up. State of Connecticut 2-year programs now for a lot of students is a free opportunity. So a lot of students are choosing that from a financial standpoint. We had a big increase in students this past year going off to career education, which means accessing technical and trade programs. That number went up. It was less than 1%. It's up to 4% last year. So overall, students are pursuing post-secondary opportunities. They're just looking at different options than they may have looked at 5 to 10 years ago. And again, our goal as a counseling department is really to educate students on the various options that are out there and really make sure every student has a plan. That is our goal, to make sure every student has a plan that fits really what their needs are, what their interests are. And I think we did a great job last year of steering kids in directions that were appropriate for them. Lastly, that last bullet there, there's a database out there that measures how successful students are at earning a college degree within 6 years after graduating from a high school. And you will see, it says steady performance. We were in the mid-70s for a while there, and then 2016 graduates, it's down to 69%. It has gone down across the state of Connecticut. One of the reasons for that, if you think about the 2016 graduates, 2020 would have been their 4th year in college, and that's when COVID's hitting. So you do have that disrupting a lot of students' plans of graduating in 4 years, 5 years, 6 years. So I think that's a big part of that number going down. But also, just the numbers going down in general is really one of the reasons why the state of Connecticut has gone to this mastery-based assessment, which we are using the Capstone to achieve. It's also why we have the vision of the graduate. We are trying to teach students these life skills that will help them be more successful in college and careers. And I think that what we're doing here at the school, embedding the vision of the graduate into all aspects of our teaching, and the Capstone in particular, I think is going to help us set students off for more success in college and careers.
Can I ask a quick question on that slide? What is the Tier 1 colleges? What is that? Is that only Ivy or?
No, there's about 35 colleges. We take it from a publication called Barron's, which basically they call it the most competitive colleges. So you'll see the Ivy League schools, you'll see the NESCAC schools, but you'll see schools like Boston College, Villanova, and it's about 35 to 40 colleges that are considered Tier 1. Barron's, unfortunately, has done away with their publication, so we're using this data from probably 3 years ago was the last time they published the Tier 1, Tier 2, Tier 3, Tier 4 colleges. So at some point, we'll probably have to find a different measurement of where we're sending students off to. But we are still using the Barron's publication from that was around for a long time.
Greg, I have a question. You said 68% of the seniors completed at least one AP course. What are those numbers specifically when we look at how many seniors we have? And then second question is, how many people start AP and drop out?
So we have, I think we had 320-ish graduates last year. So quick math is it's 220 or so probably.
That's really 217, 218.
Right?
That's not bad.
I'm extremely impressed.
I was looking at my social studies teachers back then.
Nobody was saying anything.
And to answer your other question,
Impressive.
I don't know specifically. We certainly have students that do test out an AP course and drop. And that's part of the reasons why we do have a flexible level change policy, which is we do give out students opportunities to start a class at a higher level, and either after the first month or after the first quarter, we allow them to make a level change. And hopefully that encourages students to give those courses a try. We hope that by giving them a try, they see that it is accessible and they are able to do it. But certainly sometimes just the rigor of the course or that course combined with everything else they have going on in their lives does mean some students do make level changes.
I had two things to mention. First of all, the Capstone. I give that a very positive review. I really appreciated that. I think that I'm doing my Capstone this year. I'm going to Squadron Line and working with the strings department, but I've heard of a lot of other students that have done things that they wouldn't necessarily think that they would be able to do. Even like people that have no idea what they want to do in college or they're going to be an undecided major or something have found something really interesting to do with their time. And I think just taking like an SAT or a standardized test would never give them that. So in terms of like vision of the graduate, I always looked at that and I was like, okay, just like testing and like be a nice person. But I think the Capstone really, really kind of put that together for me. And now I kind of understand the goal, which is really nice. And also with the like AP level change, all that thing, I just dropped one of my APs because it was just a lot, but I really appreciated the like method of guidance to kind of go through that process because the level change window I know is like this week, I think.
Yep.
But like they kind of make you wait a little bit. So like they make you wait for like the first like 1 or 2 tests or however many. So like some kids freak out about like their AP US history test when they come back with the C and then they want to drop, but guidance makes them wait. But then they can drop it's pretty flexible after that. They can drop whenever they want, but it just kind of gives kids a chance to see how they're going to do. But then after that, it's like really flexible and kind of no judgment. I really appreciated that.
Well said. Thank you.
Thanks.
Can I just ask while we're on this, and if it's not the right place, you can tell me that too. We had a lot of conversations last year about trying to diversify the kids who are taking APs. Do you know, will we be able to achieve some of that this year?
Yeah, and we did, and it's still a focus of ours going forward. And in that 68%, I would hope that part of the push to get it up over 70 again would be to just increase the accessibility for AP courses.
So would it be too much to ask going forward if we could kind of do demographics around that?
We could do that.
Yeah. Especially since we asked, it'd be good to see how that climbs.
Sure.
We can bring that back at another meeting too. Sure.
Yeah,
Yep.
thank you.
I think Mr. Fair is coming for class size reports, so maybe we can.
Okay.
That's
Okay.
great.
All right.
Thank you,
That's
Greg.
it for my slides.
I'm
Thanks,
going to
Greg.
turn it over to my two assistant principals in a second, but I just want to, again, not to bother you guys up. When you guys made these goals, it's really helped us streamline our thinking and keep ourselves focused moving forward. And obviously the ones that we really keep an eye on are the top two, student growth and successes. You just heard that report. You're going to hear a little bit more about making sure we're compassionate and connected school culture. But obviously hiring the best people and making ourselves accessible. We're very proud of our new teachers that we added this year. There are some sensational ones that are really buying in and adding to our culture. So again, thank you to Neil and company for doing that. And again, for you supporting some of these measures that we've asked for. I know times are always tough and everything costs more, but to recognize that and be able to fund some of these positions really, when we make our claims, it's great to be heard. So thank you, and I know you got a couple more years to go before you're back. Just so these are the, we keep talking about vision of the graduate, just as a reminder, critical thinking, communication, collaborating, self-directed learning, innovation, and global citizenship are the terms that we're working on and the rubrics that we're working off of to move this forward. And again, I think you've heard it and hopefully you can feel it, that this is starting to truly have an impact. And again, with that end goal in mind, of what these look like and what kids are going to experience at college, we're buying into it and we think it's important, and these skills are equally important. So I'm going to go one more slide for me and then I'll turn it over to my assistant principals. Whoop, back. Whoop. So it's actually, it'll be one of our goals, and I know we're coming up on NEAS next year, is to sort of get down what we're doing. So this is the document I've been working off of. Is that we certainly, preparation, passion, personal growth, and pride has been sort of our motto throughout this few years of making sure kids are prepared, finding their passions, and realizing personal growth. And then we have our vision of the graduates, and then our new pieces that we've really started to latch onto is some of the social emotional learning, managing emotions, showing empathy, establishing supportive relations, making responsible, caring decisions. And I've had the chance to actually get into some classes the last few weeks, and I can tell you, you can feel the difference with teachers in their ability to reach out, make connections with kids, help through that, give that a little bit of time in connection with the learning, and you can just feel the difference it makes in the classroom. So again, a true credit to our teachers who saw this slide and have taken that into account and figured out ways, how do I work on that other aspect of learning, not just can we add or can we, what is the dates of World War II, but how do I make connections with my kids and how do they come about in our class and work through that. So it certainly is a powerful tool that we've used throughout this year. From these pieces, we put together our school priorities, and I'm going to turn it over to my two assistant principals, Vanessa and Georgia, and she'll walk you through our book for this. Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here again to share this information around our school priorities, specifically around re-engaging our students to ensure a positive culture. So like Mr. Petrina mentioned earlier, we really looked at our Panorama data, not just the numbers, but our feedback from students, from teachers, from parents, to think about the areas where students were saying, this doesn't quite feel the way it should yet. And those areas were the hallways, were the cafeteria, were the bathrooms. And so we really thought about what are the ways that we can re-engage our students. And I think that word re-engage is really important because, as Mr. Petrina mentioned earlier, COVID really required us to spread people out. Get away from me, don't look at me. We wanted to get students back together in a way where they were really being respectful and following the expectations and feeling like they had a safe place to be. And so we really spent time during September, we're still in September, oh my God. We really spent the first couple of weeks of September reintroducing our students to the expectations. And so we actually had students travel during Connect to the various places that they named as areas of concern, like the cafeteria, like our gyms. We talked about the bathrooms. And students were truly, I'm not just saying this because I'm up here, they were truly phenomenal. They participated, they were engaged, they asked questions, they clapped for each other. There were moments where Amanda and Morgan, we were looking at each other like, are they clapping? And it was just really a powerful moment just to see the excitement of students being back together and realizing there's going to be more normalcy and they're going to set us up for success by really laying out the expectations. We also have talked about ways that we can support our students throughout the classes. And so Connect is not the only time that we expect students to follow the expectations. We kind of use that as an opportunity to lay out expectations, but we want them to live in the classes, and we want teachers to give out Trojan codes when they catch our students living in the code. And so we're really pushing that so that our school feels like a safe place and that you're acknowledged when you are doing the thing that we expect you to do. And again, our students have really risen to that occasion at this point. In addition to that, I'm only going to touch on some of these, but as Mr. Petrina mentioned earlier, we also have been focused on, or we were focused on, supporting our incoming ninth graders. We know that there were going to be a lot of nerves. We know that they were going to be starting high school in a more normal way than what they experienced in middle school. And so we really wanted for them to feel like they had a safe place to go to. And so having them come in the day before, meet their teachers, meet familiar faces, different staff members, was really helpful for our students. They were able to learn their schedules. It was okay to make mistakes on that day and not feel embarrassed. And that was really powerful for our students. So again, we really want to focus on creating a safe environment for all of our students, not only in class, but in the hallways, in the bathrooms, in places where we may not necessarily see them. And so this was our focus on doing that. Our security team has been phenomenal, as well as our department supervisors, admin. We are rotating to be visible in the hallway, not because we want to catch kids and get you in the hallway, but because we want to make sure that their movement is purposeful, their movement is moving quickly, because the learning is the focus, and that is really what we have been focused on for this year. So that is all on re-engaging our students on the positive culture. I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Robert to talk about our next two priorities.
All right, good evening, everyone. Thank you for having me as well. So in terms of continuing that focus on direct communication with students and families, Mr. Petrina has held a couple of forums that have been open to parents and guardians, and that will continue this year. The teachers, we specifically created a system so that teachers will have 3 opportunities this year to formally kind of talk about their goals in direct parent communication. So we use the professional growth plan. I'm going to try really hard not to use all our acronyms.
Doing really well.
So the professional growth plan each year comes along with 3 meetings: beginning of the year, mid-year, and end of year. And those meetings are the teacher, the department supervisor, as well as a member of the administration team. So everyone has a goal around parent communication in their plan for this year, and we're going to start talking about them in our meetings in a couple weeks. And we've asked teachers to be kind of creative here, come up with a system that works for you. It might be inviting parents in for more opportunities to come and see highly engaging things in person, reaching out with some positive things, reaching out to those kids who you think maybe just may not have had a phone call home this year. So the usual, along with some more creative takes on that as well. And then moving on to our last goal, the focus on teaching and learning. Again, when you go back to that Panorama Survey data, we definitely want our students to be reporting higher levels of engagement than what we did see in that Panorama Survey data. Again, coming off of COVID and hybrid instruction, which our teachers did so phenomenally well, we worked our way through it. But now that we're back and feeling more normal in the classroom routines, we're really focusing on what does engagement look like. So what does it look like when we walk into the classroom and we see kids engaged? Are they taking ownership of their learning? You go back to that vision of the graduate with the self-directed learning. Are they owning it? Do they know what their goals are? Are they setting their own goals? So we are doing things like classroom visits with the department supervisor team, going around, visiting classrooms, talking about what we saw, department discussions, professional development, all trying to keep to that theme of highly engaged student learning. Which leads me to the next piece that I will highlight, which is of course the capstone. I'm super excited to be able to work directly with Liz McKay and Baird Faithful. We were able to do a small version last year, a little trial. We had about 50 plus students. I can't tell you how fun it was to bump into parents in the hallway, some of whom I had to get to the right room so that they could see their son or daughter deliver the presentation. But it truly is phenomenal. We hope you will all come. We're going to give you plenty of notice when those opportunities are, because I do believe that it's a great kind of like one-stop opportunity for anyone who's able from this group to come and just see such a wide array of projects that are going on. In the first trial run last semester, we had everything from architecture to some of the kids in the coding class presenting the apps that they created in the computer science course, kids talking about some student teaching that they had done. So I think you'll be really, really impressed, and we hope that you can all be there for that. And it's really exciting to have that capstone lead the way on the vision of the graduate coming to life in all of our classrooms, which is our other big focus this year. So thank you very much. I'll turn it back over to Mr. Petrina.
Can I just ask a quick question? One of the things on your communications goal is define course registration process to provide students, parents, and staff with time to plan. So one of the things that I've heard repeatedly over the years was we didn't highlight the internships. I'm assuming Capstone kind of takes care of some of that, but I wanted to just kind of ask how you're changing that.
Yeah, that's our goal for January. Again, I gleaned that out of the survey data as well. We certainly understand that more information is needed for teachers too. We move quick at that time period. It's you're dead in the January and things are going fast. So it's to slow down, make sure information is out on the courses, make sure people are aware, make sure parents are aware. So we to be determined on that. That's our next upcoming, the one piece that we haven't touched on yet, which is fine. But we know we have a January deadline on that. But it certainly is an area that we think we could do a better job. And it's certainly something we've heard over and over again. That, hey, we don't even know what these courses are all about. We didn't even know what the options are. We get this book without much explanation.
Is there someone on staff who helps with internships? In the past, we've had someone on staff. Do we still?
To do internships?
To help people find internships.
Out in the community? And
Yep.
right now, it's all gonna be under the Capstone.
Because that's different than a capstone.
No, it's one of the tracks of Capstone.
Okay.
It's one of the ways that you can meet that
You can
capstone requirement.
Correct, but there's some kids who just are looking for internships too, and in the past, we've always had job opportunities for kids through the schools. Not a long time ago, but maybe, I didn't know if that was something that we would ever do again. And it can partner.
All our contact with local businesses now is being done by Baird and Liz to set things up in that manner. It doesn't have to necessarily
Right.
end up being
That's good, but at least that connection has begun again.
Those connections, yes.
So that's really important.
Yeah,
That's great.
Yes, it's finally.
Yeah,
having
it's really
someone
great.
that actually that's what they're doing, has been very helpful. Sue, if you could go one more?
Sure.
So just want to end, we always, again, my motto has been for my entire career here is passion and pride. We've added the compassion to this piece of the puzzle. Again, we are a work in progress, but we certainly are encouraged by the results from last year. That buoyed us some strength. I think you could hear the excitement in our voices to get back into classrooms and refocus on teaching and learning from our end, and the department chairs reinvigorating walk-arounds and doing other things. So we really feel like we're, I don't want to say returning to normal, because we'll never be there. We have so many new tools, we have so many new strategies that we learn and techniques. It won't go back to X, but we certainly are excited to be able to get at those opportunities. And again, with one eye on the populations of kids who are struggling and need extra attention, and that has not waned in the least. Our PLCs meet, our guidance counselors are still on that, and making sure that they have the tools and pieces to help those kids. But again, we're certainly much more aware social emotionally, and working through PD and giving teachers tools on that end on top of their expertises. So we're thrilled about that. Thank you for listening. That is all we have to say, but we're happy to answer questions. Go ahead.
I just have one question. Just logistically, before COVID, and it's winter time, so it's not warm outside, we have no more tents outside. Do we have enough space in the lunch to everybody to sit in there during the three cycles?
With the amphitheater, we do.
Okay, so
That's why
once winter comes, it'll be either.
I tried to get Ken to go down to 2 lunches, because that would make life a lot easier not having a split classroom. So we're actually close, because we're at a pretty low dip in our population right now. But that didn't quite work fire marshal wise. With the amphitheater with 150 seats, we do.
Okay.
Good question.
I wanted to mention a couple of things that was mentioned earlier. The school safety aspect of things that have been changed, like for example, like the new pass system and like the new security guards and stuff. I think it's definitely heading in a good direction. I think we as high schoolers / human beings don't like change. So that whole system of changing, everyone's like, whoa, what's going on? Why is it like this? But I think it's definitely a really good idea. Also, when the survey was administered, we have to think back, it was May. And so there was a lot of stuff happening in the world, the mask mandate had just been lifted and the Texas school shooting had just happened, all sorts of stuff that probably ended up making our safety ratings go down, because I know I was thinking about all that stuff a lot at that point. And then adding after that, new security guards and police officers was reassuring in ways, and in other ways more scary, because it seems like there's a bigger threat than there actually is. So that's kind of just something to get used to. It doesn't necessarily mean that the school is more dangerous, obviously, but just from a student perspective, walking in and seeing this random security desk that didn't used to be there, you're like, why is there a security desk there? What has happened to make a security desk there? But obviously nothing that I know has happened, but it's definitely just another transition to get used to.
Yeah, we fight it all the time. It's walking that balance. We want to create a warm environment and a comfortable environment, but yet you have to create a safe environment. So that fine balance. So we worked hard. I'm going to give Georgia a shout out here. We've obviously have a new security team, and Georgia has taken the lead on helping train and getting them in their spots and trying to make it as a peaceful and nice group in how they interact and work through that. So we're conscious of that it's going to look and feel differently, but how can we still assure that these are friendly faces to get to is our goal. So thank you, Emily. Thank you.
Anyone else?
I just had a comment, really, and I just begged my colleagues to indulge me because I mentioned this a couple of weeks ago, but since you're here, I just wanted to say it again. We heard a couple times tonight about the 9th grade or the freshman day. As a parent of a freshman, I can't tell you how much of a home run that was. And he had been here for football, so he'd been here for a couple weeks. And he came back just saying how really important and critical that night was. In that's just something he may not have typically said. But again, just a great job, and hope you keep it. Again, especially as you said, that's a cohort that's been kind of hit by transition by COVID in 2 different schools. So just wanted to convey how much that went over very well.
Thank you.
There was such great energy that day, and what I appreciated a lot of things about how it was set up. But when you walk into the lobby, there was this huge banner of 9th grade teachers writing positive messages to incoming freshmen. Like, you've got this. We're happy that you're here. And I'm like, that is really cool. So I am glad to hear that the impact was felt on those freshmen, and just can't say enough great things to your team, Steve, and to so many of you who made that happen. So thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Steve, I would just say, to wrap it, I would just say in terms of systemically how we do work, we talk a lot about the continuous improvement process and the importance of gathering information, reviewing it, establishing goals and priorities, and communicating those. That's a whole piece of the puzzle system-wide that got put on hold for a couple of years that I think made us all a bit uncomfortable, right? We got out of our wheelhouse with that to an extent. I commend you and your team for really jumping on those things in a coherent tie-out, and I think we have a great plan, and I look forward to moving through this year. So thank you to you and your team for coming out tonight and presenting so effectively. Really appreciate it.
Great, and we have great interns helping us too.
There you go.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
Yeah, thank you very much. Appreciate it. All right, with that, year-end financial results.
Riveting.
Go Amy.
So riveting. Matthew always puts me after the presentation. It's not fair.
Did you know?
Matthew.
She's never happy when she goes to Matthew. Thank you all.
Look at the mass exodus, Amy.
Come on, this is exciting stuff.
Interns are
Maybe
staying.
if we had some math teachers.
The interns are still here.
Yeah.
That's right.
All right, so the revenue portion of the report we can skip over. There weren't any substantive changes compared to the last time that I reported out. Maybe a few slight variances in awards, but nothing really to speak of. So on the expenditure side of things, just to take you through where we actually landed, based on what we reported out in prior reports, we are pretty much in line with where we thought we were going to be. But just to circle back and solidify where we landed, I'll take you through each of the categories. Nothing here should be new. It's all been reported at previous meetings. So if you take a look at the bottom line on the expenditures, our total deficit was about $652,000. And then we had some incoming revenue of about $200,000, which is not reflected here because, as you know, the Board of Education cannot take in revenue on in the general fund. It all has to go through the town. So there's $200,000 of Board of Education revenue sitting in the town fund. So our net deficit is about $452,000. The majority of this is going to be related to our out-of-district tuition. So if you look at the out-of-district tuition line, you'll see that our deficit there alone was about $539,000. So there is the majority of our loss for the current year. Like I said, nothing new. All of that was previously reported. Under the instruction, we had the 3 new teachers, the social emotional supports, the special education services. Under the health services, we had the increased overtime for the nurses and the nursing substitute costs. The student body activities, we had a slight under budgeting of the coaching stipends that happened during the fiscal year 23 budget process. We noted this and corrected it. The equipment line item, you'll notice that there was a spending freeze there, which is why it was 0. And then, of course, the last line, your out-of-district tuition was related to the large number of outplacements, and the majority of this was seen in spring of 2022. So, regarding the deficit, we had spoken previously about the non-lapsing fund offsetting this deficit. But you also know that during
the budgeting process, we had plans for that non-lapsing fund to feather in some of our expenditures over the next few years. So the net deficit of $452,000, we're finalizing the town year-end results as well, and it looks like they're gonna have a significant surplus. So what I would like to do at the next Board of Selectmen meeting is see if they would allow for the general fund surplus to offset the Board of Education deficit. I'll be making this proposal to them at their October 12th meeting. And if they say yes, great, we can stay in line with our budget for the next few years utilizing the non-lapsing. If they say no, we'll use our backup plan, we'll take it from the non-lapsing like we originally intended to, and then we'll reevaluate during the next budget process. I think that's all I have on highlights, unless there's any questions.
Thank you.
Study okay. So with that, last thing is committee assignments. So this is really just a matter of function. No changes because we have no elections this year. And just let me know if you have questions. And beyond that, we are back to public audience again. Oh, yes, sorry.
So you know I have a question on the
Sure,
committee
I'm sorry.
assignments. So I've asked for the last couple of years to be considered for other committees, so hopefully that will be taken into consideration soon.
So we usually make the changes on an election year, and so next time around, I will be gone, other people will be gone, and there will be vacancies available, and we'll move it. Everybody will slide around at that point in time, which is typically what happens. So,
Because I've been on the same committee since I've been here. I've been here 3 years now.
yep, and that generally,
Okay.
you know, I was in that same boat for probably 6.
Just so it can, it'll be on record, so.
Okay, that's fine, thank you. All right, public audience, round 2.
Hi, I'm Lori Boyko from 15 Oakhurst Road. And I just wanted to quickly mention, I don't know that this is an issue for Simsbury, but I had a really nice conversation Friday night with the SRO from Norwalk High School who traveled up here to accompany the team for the game. He traveled in his own vehicle, his police vehicle. And he mentioned a couple of other towns that do that. And I don't know whether it's something we need or don't need, but I just thought I would share that I talked to him about why. And he said, because if there's an issue or a student that needs some kind of support at the game, probably players when you're talking about a distance of Norwalk, that it's somebody familiar to them, it's somebody that is authorized in the city of Norwalk to address behavior issues with both the school and or police. So, like I said, I don't know that it's necessarily something for Simsbury, but I thought it would be good for the board and the administration to know that a few towns are starting to do that, and I realize there's a cost, but he seemed to think as the SRO that he had a connection with these kids, and so if something was bubbling, he could kind of pull them aside. And on the other side of the equation, it shows that he's there supporting them. So back at school the next day, he can say, hey, that was an awesome play, or you were a great sport, or you handled that loss really well, that was a tough ride home, or something like that. So I just thought I would share that some schools are starting to do that.
All right, thank you. Anyone else? Okay, with that, next board meeting is Tuesday, October 11th. And we will be in the Board of Ed conference room. I'll take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right. Thank you all. See you. Thanks, guys, for coming.